Hello guys and welcome to another video. Before we get started with it, I want to say the next. I am not a financial planner nor a financial advisor. I am not FCA approved. I'm not approved by any institution that allows me to give financial nor investment advices. Nothing mentioned in this video should be considered investment advice or guidance. Everything shown, talked, and explained is for pure and only educational purposes. The risk is on your own hands. Enjoy. Alright. Let me hide this price action. Alright. So we've been having really bearish structure, right? So just basing ourselves on that, I kind of do want to see somewhat of a pullback. We've broken 4-hour structure, which is good. So I'm thinking that we can easily see a reversal all the way up to this. Like this. Maybe this whole week will be a push up. Oops, sorry. So let's check the 15. So I just wanted to check the 4-hour to see what we can aim for, because the 1-hour shouldn't really cause much reversals or anything like that. We could refine it down, of course, but I just want to know where long-term price could get to, right? In the 1-hour we even had a flip, so this is a 1-hour flip. Right, let me put it to the right. Okay, and kind of went down for something below that, so I'm guessing there was something a little bit better than the actual cause. So 15-minute, okay, we were clearly pushing lower, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. We failed to create a lower low here. Price goes up, breaks this high. At this point, this might confirm low, this might confirm high. We react to this extreme demand. We start to go up, we create an order flow, right? We start mitigating stuff. So we have the second mitigation here. We then have the cause to this major break, right? And price went for the actual cause to that. As you can see, price actually pulled away a lot, right? Before actually coming back down to the cause. So as an example, if the break would have been something like this, just that, maybe this area would have not worked, and price would have actually gone for this extreme that we have here, right? And then continue to go higher. As price did pull away a good amount, it did work out, as you can see. That maybe could be a way to determine when we can actually go for the cause and when we can actually go for the extreme, but something a little bit unstable. It's not something that we could just say, okay, so this is enough, this is not enough, and stuff. So yeah, 15 minutes. So we have an order flow. Since this point we have an order flow to the downside. It's actually a flip. 15 minutes. 15 minutes, call it like that. To the right. So we have an order flow from this point, right? Because we have first entry, second entry, and when we actually cause the flip, we have the third. Okay, and now, well, this price went for this, right? Did respect that? Yeah. Okay. And well done, we have this. Honestly, this is not really that necessary as long as we know where is it actually pushing to. It's actually good enough. Just want to do that small analysis, as this actually could give us the bias for the whole week, or at least a good part of it, all the way up to some other structure that could make price reverse to the downside, right? So it wouldn't be much of a reversal, but a continuation to the downside, as I see all of this as just a potential pullback. But of course, if we break above this 4-hour order block, then we'll definitely have a new trend. So there might be something within the 5-minute or the 1 minute in here. The price came back up to mitigate it. We caused this major break. price didn't really mitigate the cause. So I'd say this is the actual strongest area that we have on the way up, right? I don't know why I opened that. So, and that's because we have first mitigation, second, third, fourth, right? And out of this point, we never really came back down to that series of mitigation, right? So we do have series of mitigation here and here, but we're not coming back down to the extreme. We also have that here, right? But the thing is that this didn't really have to come back down all the way there. Also, this kind of mitigated with that wick. And we could also say that this move wasn't entirely mitigated. I don't know, but the thing is, what I'm trying to say here is that I don't really expect these mitigations here to work, to really work. Can they work? They definitely can. I'm not an expert here, but you know. All right. I think we're ready on the 15. Let's check the 5. We're seeing a pretty strong move up there. Not sure what this mitigated, honestly. I would love to see it, but might be something in the 1 minute. So the cost of this major break here, what was it? I'd say it's this. Yeah, it is this. So we should be kind of seeing something. We also have somewhat of liquidity here, so I wouldn't entirely like to see a continuation from this point, right, from that POI. But still, we're in 5 minutes, so I'd expect price to get there, cause somewhat of a break, somewhat of a trend change, somewhat of a flip, something, right, to confirm that potential continuation. And we can trade it from there. Let's check the 1 minute. So I don't want to go all the way down to that because it'll be like an hour of actually just analyzing. I'm not really looking for that. So we're pushing down, range, push, range, push. We have a flip here. When we break that, this whole range is the cause to that flip on supply and demand. So let's call this a tiny bit higher. There you go. Oh shit. There you go. Actually breaks it there. So the cause was this extreme. Price came back down to the extreme beautifully. So barely broke the high. I'm not gonna lie, barely broke the high, but it can be enough in certain situations, right? So now I do trust this area a little bit more because it did have reasons to react to it, and now a continuation such as this, something like this, maybe a 5 minute within this to the left, taking this as liquidity and stuff could definitely work out. But for now, we'll leave the area drawn as it was, and we'll see what price actually decides to do later on. So we start to see mitigations to the upside. We have a flip here, but that's short term, as you can see. Then we don't really see much of a flip to the upside, but we would go up. Small pullback, broke the major high, cost to that could be the extreme, but it went for this 15, or well, actually 5 probably. Now we've broken the high. Now the thing is that I don't really like this series of mitigations. To the left, we really don't have anything to support ourselves on, which is good and bad, because when you don't really have POIs to draw, that means that price really doesn't have that much resistance. So that means that price can easily just out of nowhere start impulsing so fast to the upside in this case, that if you didn't catch one of the first, well, not one of the first, but one of the moves before that, then it'll be a little bit hard to actually to actually trade that. So what I'm trying to say here is that if price doesn't really have areas of supply to fight with, or you know, just something that can stop price, such as POIs, supply POIs in this case, if we were going lower and we don't have demand areas that could hold us, something like this can happen, right? This huge move that we have here, there's no resistance, so price just goes right through it, right? So yeah, okay. Based on ourselves on 5 minute, we have a mitigation of this. Let's use this candle to minor the area a little bit. The cost to the break, if we're being straight and honest, will be this. Not something that I go for. If I wanted to trade as a risk entry, it would be from here, but all of these series of indications, just not really loving it. But to be honest, we are in a pretty bullish move, so we have to take advantage of it till it lasts, while it lasts. So here's the first entry that we could have caught, right? We have major break, 5 minute POI, price gets here, we have a lower low, a high, lower high, lower low, we break the high. This is kind of what it goes for, right? But I think I might would have gone for the whole thing, right? Because of the look of the POI, right? Because if we go for the extreme, I think it's too far. Maybe the 50% of this could have been good and actually reacts straight to the 50% of that. And target, unless we actually spotted that, oh no. Unless we actually spotted that, there we go. Unless we actually spotted that POI that we have up there, then we would have just gone straight to the next POI. Oh, this is supply, not demand. So all the way up to this is 9R, all the way up there is 20.42R. So at this point we would have closed take profit with 9R probably, if we would have spotted that area. I don't think it would have gone all the way up there, to be fair, but yeah. So that'll be our first entry. So if I actually was looking for a continuation, I go for this, right? What do we have later? We have this area of the supply that doesn't really cause a reaction, so I can't go for that as a cause to a demand break. We have an area of supply here, causes a reaction, fails to hold, right? So the cause is this, and price, as you can see, to the tick gets there. So if I would have actually traded this, I would have missed, but that's alright. To be fair, my entries should consider spreads, right? So if I want to enter there, I should put my entry, euro dollar should be 2 ticks or 3 ticks, so 2 or 3 ticks above, right? So my entry should be something like that, so I'd be triggering, but it's just not something that I do. I go for the open, and if it triggers me, then great. If it doesn't, well, okay, that's a shame. Yeah, so as you can see, when I'm looking for continuations, all that I do is look for confluences on areas that cause a reaction, right? So we broke a major high that generates a new POI for us, which in this case was a 5 minute POI. Price gets to the 5 minute POI, we have a trend change there, and that's already an entry, right? Because we are pro trend, first of all, right? Because the trend is clearly bullish at the time. We are pro trend, first of all. Second of all, we're in a 5 minute POI, right? So it's another time frame that we're using as a confluence, so that's actually really good. And I think that's pretty much it. I mean, yeah. So this was somewhat of a reversal, to be fair, right? As we were pushing lower, but if you think about it, huge move up, good pullback. Huge move up, good pullback. Huge move up, good pullback. So if you are able to identify what phase in the market you're currently in, right? I think that right now, this is just, all of this is just a pullback, right? So huge impulse, huge pullback, huge impulse, huge pullback, right? That's what I'm seeing right now, right? And that's the exact same thing that happened here. Huge move up, huge pullback, huge move up, huge pullback, blah, blah, blah. So what do I expect now? Huge move up, huge pullback. Now the thing is that yes, we can try and risk entry this, or maybe even this, or maybe even this, right? And as maybe the pullback for now will be a little bit just like this, right? No, not so deep as I would have expected it to be, right? But basically that's just literally what the name says it is. It's a risk entry, right? So it's risk that we can obviously take, but not risk that I'm really comfortable with going for. I don't think it's worth going for that unless we actually have a really good area with a lot of confluences like liquidity and other stuff, right? So being able to identify if you're in a pullback or in a push phase, right? That really helps you to determine what could happen next. If you're pushing up, right, all the way. So that's also expectancy order flow, right? Because if we do this, and we're coming from a trend that does this, what do we expect? For price to actually just break the next high, right? So if we can get into it by here or here or here, or we just market execute because we trusted the trend or something like that, I'm not encouraging you to do that. I hate market execute because I always do that with them. But if you manage to find an interesting example, this entry or maybe this entry, your next target can definitely be the next high, right? Because if you're in a bullish trend, supposedly or expectedly, you are supposed to break the next high, right? So that's what you expect from the market to do, right? When you have an order flow to the upside, then the only thing that you can expect is for price to break the next high. Does it have to do that? Definitely not, of course, because at some point we'll see a change in that trend. But until that happens, until it reverses or it flips to the downside in this case, you can take advantage of that order flow, right? Because just going for 5-minute POIs, we have 1 and 2 entries already, right? And well, without counting all of these, right? This was Friday. Oh, this was Friday. Yeah, look at that. Let's over that a little bit. So yeah, that's pretty much it, honestly. So in continuations, what this whole thing was based on. In continuations, what I look for is, as an example, if we're trying to buy, I look for supply areas on the other side that price reacts to, fails to hold, and I go for the cost of that failed area, right? Which is literally what happened here. We have an area of supply, price causes a reaction, so good, a pretty good reaction that it also breaks a low, right? So this could have been an indication for us to try and sell. But knowing that this was a pullback and this is potentially the next new high, the next new high, what's that? I wouldn't really go for this unless we actually had somewhat of another confluence, right? But for me to sell, I should break this low now, and at this point that I'm basically talking hypothetical here, I'd wait for this low to be broken, right? So yeah, we have an area of supply, fails to hold, breaks a high, go for the cost, right? It can be as simple as that. Sometimes it won't work that easy, but well, it's just literally that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So as you can see, we're still pushing up. This POI doesn't look like it's going to hold, so that's good. And I don't really like continuations, I'm not gonna lie. I find it really hard to actually find continuations, right? But they're the best ones, honestly, because if you can catch a good trade on a POI like this, right, on somewhat of an extreme POI, it's not an extreme POI, don't get me wrong, but somewhat of an extreme POI. At this point, this was just a decisional to this break, right? But the trade worked out amazingly, right? But at this point, this was a decisional, and this was a decisional, and well, this was a decisional, right? This was an extreme. Although I don't really see any other POI on that push up. I should submit, of course, but not really trying to analyze all price action. So, what do we expect next? Well, price is just pushing up, right? I can, but I can't go for something like this. Although, well, if we do think about it, this is the cost to that to the break of this supply area, right? So it actually does have a little bit of a confluence. Not sure how much I love it though, because we do have some liquidity there, and could work out for this 5-minute POI, right? Because here, sure, this is decisional, but this is also a decisional that broke this major high. So to be fair, if I wanted to risk entry something, either this or this, I'd go for this, because in my opinion it has a little bit more of strength. But honestly, I don't like either of the areas. Right? Because as an example, right now, what I would love for price to do is to go all the way down to this extreme POI, and for me, taking an entry anywhere inside of here is already a really good trade. Of course, it can definitely fail, don't get me wrong, but trading on this series of mitigations, right, where price goes all the way down to the extreme that initiated the whole move, I don't know, it's just simpler, right? It's simpler, it's easier, it's less risky, it's just all kinds of good, right? So I would love for price to do that, but I guess we'll see what happens whenever we reach one of these POIs. I think it could be worth risking one of these entries, but if price pulls all the way down to this, it should break through this demand area, which is not quite something that I'm looking for. And it could definitely respect it, don't get me wrong, but well, we could even find an entry here. Right, so for now, I think it's going to be a waiting game for, well, it's always a waiting game, don't get me wrong. But I think we still have a good amount of time till the next entry, unless we wanted to risk entry one of this. So this is a range that caused a supply area to fail. Not a very strong area, but a strong area, sorry, an area of supply to fail, which is definitely good, but I wouldn't be really expecting that area to cause some much of a move, to be honest. So right now, what am I expecting? Either this happens, which I highly doubt it. This happens, right? And if I can try and enter, so if I see a CE from this point, I won't take it. If I see a CE here, I will take it. But if price gets all the way down to here, I would actually expect it to continue to go lower, mitigate something on the extreme, or just completely change the trend. Right, as an example, if I see a flip here, I will definitely try and sell, at least all the way down to this, right, which is the 5-minute POI. As we can take advantage of those counter trades, right? So you know what I look for in continuations, you know what I look for in reversal. In reversals, it's simple as just finding a supply, demand to supply flip in this case, and not going for just that flip, but going for the confirmation entry of that, right? Because we are counter trend. We could definitely be catching the first trade of a huge reversal with the first flip or with the first confirmation entry. That's not something that we're looking for. We're just looking for a profitable trade. Doesn't need to be the first, could be the third, could be the fourth. But we really do need confirmations before taking a counter trend trade, right? Because that could really backfire really bad, right? So yeah, the fact that it is pushing pretty strongly do make me like this area even more, but and do keep in mind that it'll be something like this. So it's 22, call it 25, and we'll target, to be fair, at this point I definitely go for this. Sadly, it's only a 6R. Well, it's not only a 6R, it's really good that it's a 6R, don't get me wrong, but yeah, if we had something as an example, if we were just going for this candle, which in my opinion is what we could do, we'd have 10R, right? Hell, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go for just this candle. The only problem here, I think I will be mitigated. Let's say this works out. I think I will be mitigated, but the problem is the stop losses. It can easily just get a little bit lower to mitigate something on those weeks and then continue to go up, right? I'm not gonna place this trade. As I said, I'm not really looking for a risk entry, but yeah, that's pretty much it. 24 minutes of analyzing what has happened. Of course, I talked about a few concepts, but yeah. Also, so this is an area of demand. Price reacts to it but fails to hold, so that's a flip. Reason why this area actually does cause a reaction for a little bit. But then price gets to this area of supply, causes a reaction but fails to hold. So this is actually the cause to a flip. That's just too much confluences, honestly. You know what? I'm gonna go for it. The trade has just too many confluences to avoid it. So yeah, the only problem, as I said, could be the stop loss, but yeah. So that's on alert. Right now, I'm gonna pause the video. I'm gonna go downstairs and make myself some breakfast. And where did I put that alert? No, it's fine. And yeah, I'll come back upstairs if I see anything interesting to actually show you. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this part of the video, and I'll see you in a couple of minutes. So right now we could see a flip, right? Because we have an area of demand here that caused a break to this, that came from mitigating this, blah blah blah, right? And we have reacted to this demand area, right? So if we fail to hold that, then that will be considered a flip, and we could go for the cost. Now I was thinking about going for this, but clearly it's mitigated now. So what do we use? That's the question. The extreme is kind of completely unmitigated at this point, right? But if price actually does continue to push a tiny bit higher, it will mitigate it. Yeah, I just wanted to say that I might have an entry whenever I see, but now it's kind of mitigated. So what do I do here? Can we go for this? Saying that this was mitigated there, right on the tick. So I highly doubt it. The thing is that we can definitely go for that area, but if price wants to go higher and I have to place a stop loss all the way up there, then I will have such a bad risk to reward that it will suck. Security equal lows, not really. You know what, let's just go for the extreme, right? Although this reaction clearly does not help. Well, it'll go higher apparently. So. Because we haven't really broken the demand area, right? So it's nothing that we can really do right now, and it's creating liquidity for that extreme area, so that's good between commas, because it has to go lower before it does that. So it broke above, and it could definitely fall from here, because we have mitigated that. Now we have mitigated this. We could continue to fall. But if we don't really have a flip, then I don't really have intentions to sell. You know, it's just mathematical. Could try and take a risk. I got market execution, but I'm not really a fan of those, as I said. You know what? This is just price rumbling around. So for now, I'm not gonna be trading. I'll pause the video and I'll come back later. Okay guys, so now I'm back at my desk, and we did have somewhat of a flip, right? Not really convincing, to be honest. And what it does look like it actually really happened is that price actually went and mitigated this this whole area. Did it get to the 50? Let's actually see what exactly mitigated, because there might be something. That's kind of mitigated already, wasn't it? Yeah, I don't know. Thing is that what I was thinking is that if price would have been a little bit like, if this line of liquidity would have been maybe here, then this would have been a really good opportunity, right? As this was basically just creating liquidity to take and go up, right? So when price barely minorly broke that low, I thought, well, this is the cause, but it broke it by so little that I wasn't really convinced on it. And it does cause a reaction and everything, but just didn't hold at all, right? At this point, this trade doesn't make that much sense. We are at a 15-minute POI, right? But I mean, it's just the POI, You know, it's not really necessary for price to actually react to that or anything like that. So not expecting much. I'd wait for something a little bit cleaner, right? To happen before I actually try to sell from that point. But yeah, I mean, for now, there's not really much to talk about per se. I checked that we didn't really have news, and we don't, at least not till 11. And at 11, we really don't have any big important news, but we do have news, so well, at least we do have to keep them in mind. I'm gonna drill this like this with the 5 in it, because if price does begin to fall down from this area, I expect at least a good pullback, right? If we want to continue to push lower, we want to see a big pullback from this point. But yeah, so for now, not much, honestly. I would like to see a flip and going for the confirmation entry to sell. And to buy, to be honest, the only area that I really like is this, the area that actually took liquidity and all. But yeah, I not sure, honestly. For now, not much to really do. So gonna be just chilling, you know, waiting, sitting on my hands, and I'll be talking to you all in a couple of minutes. So now that so I call this a flip because, as you can see, price here basically reacted and even gave us a bullish candle right there. So price reacts to that demand area and went a tiny bit lower than this POI itself. Right now, the thing is that it could, maybe it's not that whole thing. Sorry, not just this thing as the POI, but the whole thing, right? So at that point, we wouldn't really consider this a flip, and as it basically barely did that flip. Not really interested in going for this anymore. I was going for this whole thing on the 25 or something like that, so it'd be somewhere around here, right? Could have gone for just a candle, but I felt like that was a little bit greedy. So I would have liked to trade this as of this on the 25, as I said, so it should be somewhere around there, I think. Fuck. Not sure why it changed now, but well. And stop loss should have been 14 or something like that, maybe even 15, call it. And target, well, target, I think it's a little bit difficult in this case because we got a couple of options. But I think safe target would have been this, right, 7R. And actually could target this, or maybe even all the way down to this 5 in it, right, giving us a 19R. So it doesn't really make that much sense. So this would have been the target, but as I said, it barely broke the low, right? So I'm going to wait for another confirmation for me to go for this. But it does look good, don't get me wrong, it does look good. I don't really like the fact that, well, it reacted so strongly from it, like that. But still looks like a good opportunity to really go for, honestly. So we'll see how that works out. And I'll come back if I see any CEs forming out. Okay, so clearly we've broken the low, right? So that would indicate a potential to sell now. And the thing is that the way that we actually went down, it's not really convincing for me. Well, not convincing, but basically we don't really have much of an area to actually go for. That's not good. So we broke below this low, right? So because we could say it's the week, but it was mitigated with this week. So the only really mitigated thing is this whole thing here to the left, to the right. So I'd say the week, and that's really the only thing that I see unmitigated. But I don't really like the risk on it to actually go for it. I don't wanna be impatient now. I mean, we've been patient the whole day. Still kinda early. So I'm not really sure if I'm gonna go for this, honestly, but that's literally the only area that I really see tradable right now. Could definitely go higher and even mitigate this extreme here that was not mitigated. And if I wanted to sell, honestly, that would be the only point I'm really interested on. But the thing is, do I want to go for this or not? Let me delete some stuff from the middle because I like this too. kind of think I do want to go for that. But I think I'm gonna be missed though. We'll go for that. Oh, sorry, I knocked the headphones. So here's the thing, right? Can we go for this? We definitely can. Can it react to something in here within this whole price action? It definitely can. In my opinion, probably will. But the thing is that the only clear structure that we actually have, or clear area to actually go for, is this, right? And I just don't like the risk enough to actually go for it, so I prefer to just trade the extreme, and if price does get there and works out, then that's great. If it doesn't get there, then the direction was right, but just the area wasn't, right? Because it could do something like this and then fall down, right? Maybe react to that wick. So I'm actually going to go for this, but still not really, nothing really clean so far, to be fair. So yeah, so we can go for this, but it's 10.9, so close it at 10, and target is this. Yeah, all right. So for now I'm gonna be waiting on that. Honestly, I don't really see much else to do at this point. I'll have a couple of alerts just in case, but that's pretty much it for now. I'll be pausing the video and come back soon. So I just got the alert, and price has basically been falling and falling. As you can see, we do have somewhat of an order blow here, now here. Thing with that is that, yeah, we mitigated maybe this. Here we mitigated the whole thing as it is, and back here, yeah, we mitigated this, right? So we do have an order flow, but not something clean as I would like to see, right? Direction was okay. So that's at least a good outcome out of this. But basically now at this point I really don't want to sell. At this point I don't want to buy because we're in the middle. So I'll just wait to see what happens when price reaches this area, right? And or well, basically what happens if price starts to reverse, right? As our major trend is bullish, a flip from supply to demand could be good enough for us to try and buy, right? So as I said earlier in the morning, in my opinion, this is an impulse and this is just a pullback, right? So even though we are bearish right now and we can try to sell, maybe all the way down to this, from this point I wouldn't be expecting price to break. Now if we do break below this, then I wouldn't see that much of a pullback, more as a potential reversal, but at the same time it could definitely be a reversal all the way down to this. But at that point that would be more like a actual change of trend, right? To then change trends again and continue with the major move that we have, right? Because if we go to the 5, this was a pretty prolonged move, right? So in the 5 or even the 15 minute, it does make sense for price to come back down to this, but on the 1 minute we can find so many opportunities going down that we cannot basically miss out on, right? So for now I'm going to be deleting this trade. We'll see what happens when price reaches this area. We're at 10. I will be trading all the way up to 11.30. But the way that price has been working, well, has been doing its stuff lately, not really giving much opportunities, at least not as clean as I'm looking for them, right? I'm being patient, just waiting for price to create clean structure, create clean areas, and show a good intent, right, to the direction that we're expecting. So just being patient, and yeah, I'll come back in a couple of minutes. So I always talk about how I don't really like when price gets to an area and immediately lifts off, right? Reacts really fast to it, and I think we're about to see the reason why, and it's usually because it doesn't really hold. But I guess we'll find out if this area will hold or not. So my idea right now was that if we were to break this area without causing much of a reaction, this would have been my choice to actually sell, right? But now that we have caused this somewhat of a pullback here, if we do break this low, right? If we do break this low, then probably the cause will be this, or maybe something that we create here, right? So I'll likely be going for the cost to that flip, right? And which probably 5-minute flip to be fair. So let's write that down. And what I'm kind of looking for right now is just, well, the flip first of all, because otherwise we can't really sell. If we want to buy, I kind of want to break this supply area. But basically, if we do break the low, right, if we do break the low, we could be looking for an entry. But the question will be where, right? Because we did break this low, but I kind of want to break the demand area. And clearly, this is a pretty important area, as it is basically the pause before this actual flip. But at the same time, this area comes from mitigation. You know. So that's why right now I kind of don't want to risk it on this new cost that has been created. I kind of want to just go for that extreme. Now the problem with that is that it could definitely react to this, right? Right. I'm sorry if you're hearing me a little bit far, but I'm kind of far from the desktop. So I don't want to go for this. So I'm going to go for this, as I feel like this area just makes a huge more amount of sense compared to the lower one, right? So 15, we'll call it 18, although 17 should be good enough. And to be honest, target, I think we can aim at this, and it should be good. But yeah, so the risk is what it'll be, a 0.25% risk on a 25k account. The thing is that this account actually has a little bit more than 25k. I don't know if it says somewhere here, but basically, here, equity. So I started this account with 25k and currently is at 26,343. I got a 5.47%, I think it was last week. 5.75, sorry, 5.75. So that's why, as an example, if I risk a 0.25, it will be a little bit more than 62.5. So I just risked 62.5, and in the future I might add more risk or something. So it can definitely go for this, right? And fall from here, but I just don't like it. I've seen, well, the thing when I've seen those, they haven't broken the low. I'm gonna go for this 100%. I'm just thinking the why. Because it just, for me right now, it just makes a lot more sense that area than this, right? And that's kind of like a subconscious thinking or something like that basically tells me that, based on my experience, this has not worked out and this has worked out better, right? But I just kind of trying to think a technical reason for that, you know. So yeah, we'll see. This can definitely work out. Now, if we see something like this and price falls down, we could try and go for this, but I see this as liquidity, right? So even if it does react here, then that'll be too late to try and sell from this point. So I think that this is a trade that I might go for while having this entry here. And of course, it depends if we have reached this area when that CE happens. CE or DCE? CE, yeah. So yeah, for now I'm just gonna be chilling. Got that. I got that trade there, just waiting, and I'll have an alert here in case price actually reaches that area, right? And let's delete this. And that's pretty much it, boys and girls. I'll come back in a couple of minutes. Okay, so we had somewhat of a flip here, as this supply area does cause a reaction but then failed to hold, right? So we have a flip to the upside, so this area of demand can cause a reaction if it ever comes back to that. We're currently still within this whole POI, right? So still just waiting to see if this either gets respected or fails. The good thing between quotes is that we have created this low, so if we do react to this while respecting this BOI, we can definitely find a continuation right from there. So yeah, pretty much that. I'm still trusting this. I really don't see much. So this flip really didn't happen anywhere. If it had happened, as an example, maybe here or I don't know, just something that's off. It would have been good enough for me to actually try and go for something here, right? But for now, this is just an area that I want to be careful with, but not an area that I really expect a huge reaction out of, right? So for now, I'm just gonna be still waiting. We'll see if we break this low, then I might try to go for this. It'll depend. But if we don't, then that's not really a good indication for the buys nor for the sells at that point. To be fair, so yeah, I'm just gonna wait a tiny bit longer. Okay, so now we have actually caused a supply to demand flip at this point, as we have reacted to this area but then failed to hold. So at this point we can definitely try and buy from anywhere, basically. Well, not anywhere, but basically because to that change. Of course we are within the trade because I still trust that this trade could definitely work out. But basically we still have to analyze what could definitely happen next, right? So supply areas besides this one, I only consider this one, right? Because all of this, in my opinion, is mitigated, right? So I don't like any of that. So either it reacts to this or it reacts to the extreme, or neither of them, and then it just continues to go up, right? So now the thing is that the cost to this flip is basically this range, if we can call it that. The thing is that price is so choppy here that everything looks mitigated, so there's nothing really clean to actually go for. So I'm not really loving that, right? What I would like to see for me to actually trade this is for price to actually pull away, then come back, and that will be a good trade for me. Because if it pulls away just this little, maybe a little bit more, then this makes no sense for me, right? Now, other areas besides this, let's suppose that this is as far as price gets while flipping, then we can definitely try and search for another area that could make sense. Maybe this, which is below this somewhat of a choppy price action that could basically lead to basically this acting as liquidity, right? And this being our entry. That could definitely work out. Not something that I like to take a risk entry on, right? But could definitely work out. And in my opinion, the best area to buy from is the extreme at this point. I don't know if we have something. I haven't actually checked the 5 minute, and the 5 minute actually does have something. So this is what I see on the 5 minute. We have a flip clearly, but besides from that, we had somewhat of liquidity here. That price basically came back down and took. And the only reason why I wouldn't go for this is because actually the 5 minute doesn't have enough reasons to just place the trade here, right? But still a good area to consider. Still, I like this better, right? So I wouldn't really like price to react from this point. I just don't like the POI. I don't think it has enough reasons for it to react to that. But if we are selling from this point, then we do have to keep in mind that this is definitely an area that price could react to and completely respect, right? So if it comes back down to this, then we do have to be careful here. I do not have enough a good enough range to actually get out at 5R here, right? That'll be 3.70, well 3.4 actually. So closing at that point is not really much of a choice right now. So that's kind of bad, not gonna lie, but well, it's what we have right now. And the thing is that I don't really see much reasons to go all the way down to this, nor all the way down to this, right? With this trade, don't get me wrong, I think price should get down to either of these areas, but not with this trade. That's what I'm trying to say. So at this point, my stop loss will be sent to half. Is that 9? That's 9. So that will be half loss. So that will be, because I will love to move it to break even, but price could definitely come back up to this, mitigate this, and fall, right? So not really interested in being tagged out for no reason. Now, so we caused the flip, right? As I said, we came back basically now to this, and we are respecting that. Can it work? In my opinion, it shouldn't. I don't really think it should. I don't think this whole range as it is should work. Now, if we do break below this low, then we're kind of in a really good trade. If we don't, and price starts to retrace from there, then we might be in a bad trade. We might be in a loss. But for now, we'll just let it be. So right now, what I'm trying to do is, because it's something that I realize that I do, is that when I place a trade, I basically stop analyzing, right? And what that causes is that I either miss out on what's going on the other side, or I basically end up taking a trade that I don't know what it's doing completely, and I just say, okay, so let it go to target, right? And to be fair, this target which was basically aimed to this range here, when I placed the trade first, before this whole structure was created, made a lot of sense. It was definitely the best target that I could have chosen, right? But now that we have this structure here, and we have caused major breaks, major flips, it's not much of a good target, right? Because this area can definitely cause a good strong reaction for price to continue to go up from this point, right? So yeah, trade is going well. I closed it to 2R. Oh, I don't have this area drawn actually. This is the whole area that I want to be careful with. What to do? I think target for now is fine. I don't really expect this demand to work. We still haven't broken below this low, by the way. Oh, we broke below this one. That's the one that I was talking about. But this is the one that I love to see broken. Will be an extra confluence, you know, not really necessary, but if it breaks it before we have a retracement, that will be great. There you go. Okay. What's the POI? Let's check the major POI. Where are we? That pause, and I can't really check to the left because price is just too far. Not really much, to be fair. Okay, so here's the thing, right? So I said that early this morning, I said that I'm expecting all of this to be just a retracement, right? So this move down, and I'm expecting this retracement up, all the way up to this 4-hour order block to then continue to go lower, right? I'm not saying that if we don't get up here, I'm not saying that price can't react to maybe something in the middle and then continue to fall from there, but I was saying that the highest probability is for price to get up all the way up to this POI and then continue to fall, right? So this sell right here, for me, is just a pullback. It's just a pullback down to mitigate a POI to then continue to go up, right? I think the POI is good to see a retracement, but not good enough to see a reversal. That's another point on that. But I think we could, or we should be able to get down to, as an example, this area here. Right, I don't really, based on the fact that we have, so that's something actually better. So if you think about it, we have a 5-minute area here, 5-minute POI. The price reacts to, as you can see, we have a huge candle here that in the 1 minute looks like that, huge reaction, but then failed to hold. So having a 5-minute demand to supply flip, I think that we should not react in any way to this area. I mean, sure, we can cause a reaction, but I'm saying that we shouldn't really respect it, as I don't really think price should continue to go lower than this. Shouldn't continue to go higher from this point. Now, I'm saying all this, which is what I'm thinking, right? But that does not mean that I'm 100% sure that that's what will happen. I think that's the highest probability for price to not respect that area, or if it does, as I said, it'll be somewhat of a small pullback to maybe mitigate something and then continue to fall, right? Or it'll just go straight down. Now, POIs, in my opinion, you shouldn't really stop till we get down to this area, but I do not want to target that. I do not think that this trade will continue to go all the way down to this. It definitely can, don't get me wrong, but I just don't like having this trade all the way down to this, right? For now, I'm actually going to leave. It's kind of early, not gonna lie, but I'm actually going to leave. I will leave an alert here, right? So I know when the area is actually broken, or we'll hear when we're actually approaching break even, right? Those are the only two alerts that I'll leave. But I think we can easily get down to this. I don't think a 1 minute, very small supply, well actually we did get this one. I don't think a 1 minute supply to demand flip should overrule a 5 minutes demand to supply flip. So for now I'm gonna trust the sells. So yeah, as you can see, for now patience is paying, and yeah, actually 16200. How much TP? 7 hour basically. We're gonna name the alerts. And so if we take a loss, it'll be a half a loss, right? We're currently reacting to the area. That's something I do have to say. And well, here's when everything is decided. Of course, I don't think we'll react right away, right? But if it does, if we do get a reaction, a flash reaction as fast as this, then that's great. For me, that's actually a show of weakness. I don't know, well, basically, in my opinion, from my point of view, that just shows weakness. It's just a low that will be taken out. So yeah, I'll be leaving. I'll come back with any updates, and yeah, hope this video has been useful for all of you. Also, having this area in mind, probably the best thing would have been to just target this and entry to just secure the 5R, right? So yeah, a little bit of bad analysis from me from that point, but basically it is what it is. We'll just let this trade go, and we'll see how that works out, and I'll come back in a couple of minutes. Okay guys, so I realized that I can actually trade like this from my cell phone now. Apparently an update from TradingView. And basically I took half loss here, as I had my stop loss what I showed you last time, and now I was still trusting this, and I knew that at the very least it should cause somewhat of a reaction, and in my opinion that reaction should get here, should get all the way down to this, and that will be because we have created a new POI here, new demand area, right? Sorry if I sound a little bit agitated, it's just I was exercising downstairs, and well, I'm a little bit agitated basically. So I'm going to move my stop loss a tiny bit lower, which will basically mean a little bit less of a loss. I'm risking actually $50, so not even a 0.25, right? As the entry is a little bit risky, but still decided, you know, so we just took half loss. The day still is not done, not gonna lie. But yeah, just wanted to take that trade and see how it works out. I knew that at the very least it should cause a somewhat of a reaction due to the area that it is and where it is. And also was actually thinking that, well, having a 5-minute flip, it probably could react to the 5-minute extreme, right? And well, that's the biggest based this analysis, honestly. That's how I based this whole analysis. Not gonna lie, it didn't take much time to analyze it. I had analyzed it earlier, right? Which is the reason why I had enough reasons for me to actually go for this, right? And well, yeah, then also we don't really have a demand area all the way down to that area that we have drawn. So totally makes sense. Now, this area, if you remember earlier, I said that any flip to the upside probably should be a trade due to the major move that we have. But for me, this was not enough of a good flip, right? When we got this, it was, but to be fair, I was not really thinking clearly enough. But at the same time, we do have a 5-minute flip to the downside. So I definitely do expect some move to the downside due to the fact that we have a 5-minute flip. Sure, we do have a flip to the demand, which is pro-bias, right? But the thing is that you can't really compare a 5-minute flip against a 1-minute flip. Of course, the 5-minute flip was against the trend, against the bias, but at the same time, it happened at a strong POI. Well, not a strong POI, but at a POI, right? So that gave me, at least in that point, that gave me enough confluences. And to be fair, I would trade this a lot of times. Basically, I think it's a good trade. Just didn't work out the way we wanted it to. And when I was witnessing this, that's when I moved my stop loss to half, because I'm not really sure if it was to half, but basically moved it straight to half. It was somewhere around here within this candle. And actually I was really close to moving it to break even, but I said, you know what, let's just move it there in case price does want to get up here, take this as liquidity and then continue to fall, which was a good theory at that point. But yeah, it is what it is. I don't really mind. Half loss, nothing. Plus the week is barely starting, and we already have a trade that is covering for that loss. And since this is counter trend, in my opinion, I'm not really sure where to close it. Right? I'm not really sure where to close it. Stop loss was 12. We could go for just the 5R. Right? We could definitely go for the 5R. We could go for just the whole thing. Right? Just all the way down here. I think I'm gonna let it go here, right? Might move my stop loss is at maybe a couple dollars loss. How much? $8 loss. Yeah, not really much. So I'm actually gonna leave the target here, which is how much? 429. So it's 1.75 probably percent profit. So yeah, I'm gonna place an alert here and an alert here, 8.4R. And I don't know if I didn't or it just didn't pop up, but basically break even. So yeah, just wanted to say that. I'm gonna pause the video again, and if I see anything important to show you, I'll definitely come back. Okay, so this is day done for me. Yeah, that's good enough. So hold on, let me pause just a second. Okay, I just need to catch my breath. So close that trade a tiny bit earlier, just in case it wanted to react to the whole thing, and also a little bit of a bad psychology, but that's all right. So the trade does hit the 8.42R that we were planning it. So I lost maybe how much was it? 429. 429. Nowhere to check. I think it was 429 full target, and I closed at 340, something like that. So maybe $80 or something like that. So that would be 0.25, 0.30 maybe. So yeah. So I'm gonna be sharing this video because of the not really good video. Not gonna lie, as what I think the video is 60 minutes, even probably a little bit more, 1 hour and 10 or something like that, long. And only 2 trades taken, but that really shows, right? Just with that trade, that really shows why you really have to be patient, because otherwise you just trade a lot of dumb stuff, and that's not really our target, right? I prefer to just take one trade in one morning. That gives me how much do we get? 1.25, 1.40, something like that %. And if I can do this lately for 20 forex trading days, that's more than 20%, right? So honestly, one take profit can be enough, depending on what's really your target, your goal, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, just basically that, right? I kind of want to do a resume, but at the same time, I don't really have time because by 11:45 I gotta be outside of home. But basically, really good day. We were very patient without trading anything on this move up. Didn't place any trades here, so that was great. Could have taken a couple of losses. Could have taken a loss selling here. Would have actually been a take profit, as I would have aimed for this. So this is a trade that I missed out, but it was a good miss due to the fact that the only reason why I didn't go for this is because the flip was very minor. The area was huge, and we were barely reacting to the 50%, and we were counter trend. Right, so when you're counter trend, you really want either strong confluences or a lot of minor confluences, right? Here we had a strong confluence, which is a flip, right? But as it happens so seamlessly, like it barely took the low as saying, okay, yeah, let's flip, just a very minor flip. I just didn't entirely like it, and that was the reason why I didn't go for this, which ended up being a profit. I'm honestly don't really regret it. Of course, if I would have traded this, then by 9:30 I have the trade, and by 10 a.m. I'm already out of the markets, right? I'm not trading anymore at that point. And this trade, as you were able to see, the analysis was great. That's something that I really loved about this trade. Even though I ended up in a half loss, the analysis was great because this area was important. I was able to identify that area was important and that this area was not going to hold. It does cause a reaction, fails to hold, right? And yeah, we were careful with this. Could have aimed, as I said, I think the only mistake that I made on this trade right here was to move, not move, but basically when this area is created, my target should have changed entirely, right? Because we created demand area when we are on a demand market, right? So at that point, my entry should have been higher to be able to get 5R with that before hitting this area, right? And I failed to do that. Not gonna lie, I wasn't really expecting, as you were able to see, I wasn't really expecting. I was a little bit cocky saying that this will work, this will work, this will work. I really had a lot of strong confluences, in my opinion, for to believe that price was actually going to hold, but it didn't, right? And that also shows that you won't be right 100% of the times, hell, not even 70% of the times, but you really do need to be right just a couple of times to be profitable with a high risk to reward type of strategy, right? So honestly, I wasn't really thinking about trading this. If I were to trade it, I would have gone for the 50, so I would have missed. The reason to that is because the area was pretty large, and I don't think I can get 5R before that area. So it would have been a little bit of a pain in the ass. Well, actually, really close. I would have traded this. Now I'm going for this because it is close to 5R, close enough for me to assume the risk on it. So yeah, but really, this really shows a lot how patient can be very powerful. And yeah, continuous analysis also, right? Continuous analysis to not miss out on details, because if you miss out on details, you can miss out on trades like this, which worked out really great all the way down to 8.4R. In my opinion, it might get down there, not gonna lie, not something that I will be able to hold psychologically, so not even gonna try it. But that's something that I want to change also. Not as an example, this closing it here when price was finally impulsing strongly was just down. To be honest, I was happy with that profit. Don't get me wrong, I am happy with that profit. But I could have easily just let it go there, right? When I saw that this was happening, this impulse up, I wasn't really happy with it, but I wasn't that scared as the stop loss was basically a break even, and I kind of was thinking that at some point we could see somewhat of a retracement, but the fact that we hadn't broken major or confirmed structure, right? If we would have done this, then I totally expect that retracement, but by not breaking the low, I don't expect that, right? So yeah, honestly, that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you take something away from it. And I guess we'll be talking soon. See you soon.